Hey everybody, and thanks for tuning to Bonsai by Alan. This is an update on the Carissa that I turned back upright after it had fallen over almost horizontal. And in fact, it did fall over horizontal, and I righted it a little bit before I did that video. And you can watch that video right here. So there's a couple of things I like about this tree, and a couple of things that I don't like about this tree. I like the form, and I also am glad that it's sprouted new growth. It's doing quite well. But there's a couple of places that I really needed some growth, and those branches are peaked at best and perhaps even dead. This little guy right here that's so weak, I think is dead because I've scratched the bark and I see no green. This branch here has some tiny little bit of growth, but nothing like the way it's popped everywhere else. I've also got these two branches right here, this one and this one. Notice how things not all that secure in the pot yet. Keeps shaking around. And it's almost impossible to see right now, but there's tiny little bits of growth coming at the base. And I will show you that right now. So there's a tiny little bit of growth coming right there. And there's also another tiny little bit of growth coming right there. So I'm going to remove these heavy branches and promote those small pieces of growth, because that will give this tree a much better proportions. And if we look close at this limb, there's just nothing there. It's just going to keep it for now, because there may be something. Now we do have some sprouts. If we go to the back, we can see there's a guy right there. It's not coming from the trunk in a perfect position, but it can be spun around and take the place of this guy. This one in the front here is coming too far forward, so he's going to come off. I also have some sprouts down low, and they all are going to come off. In fact, we can do that right now. Just rub them off with my fingers on a Bunjin tree. You don't want any of that. Even this guy right here. And that was the problem when the tree fell over. It just sprouted all up and down the trunk, because it was like, well, I've fallen over, I may as well put out some new growth. The top is super healthy. And today I'm also going to unwire. I'm going to take the wire off, because I think it's probably done its job. And if I need to, I can always put it back on. Probably not today, but let the tree grow a little, and you can always rewire. I'm a big proponent of taking the wire off before it cuts into the scar, probably in the error of taking it off too soon sometimes before the branch is actually set, but I'm okay with that. That's okay with me. So I'm going to do that off camera, and then we'll take a look at what we got. Now that the wire's off, it's held its shape pretty well. I twisted the whole thing like this, and that didn't take, but the movement took very nicely. And so I'm looking at these little tiny branches down below, and there's also another one right here, so I can take this old branch off too. These larger branches here, and let's take the camera off the tripod. These larger branches here are just too thick for the design. So I'm going to take that one and take this off. I'm going to leave this little guy right here and that little guy right there. And if you look really hard, you can see there's a couple little pieces of growth right here. But this poor guy, I think, is bit the dust. And what I'm going to do right now is I'm just going to pinch off the new growth from the bigger branch instead of trying to chop it off, because if you make a mistake, you can damage the little baby that you want to keep. So there's that little guy that you want to keep. It's really too tender. So take the growth off the main branch and promote this guy. And once he's out into here and has a little more wood, then I can cut. Actually, I'm looking at this guy right here, which is almost perfectly right at the outside of the curve. So I could probably just take this guy off completely and let this one come in. You notice how it's growing up, but nothing like wire. So I don't really need this little tiny guy. So this I can take off. And this guy will end up taking its place. And I can probably do the same here with this one. There we go. Now this one is growing up and needs to come down, and this one is growing down and needs to come up. But we can deal with that once they're a little bit bigger. So that's about it for today. It looks way better than it did. I know it's sparse, but Bunjin are kind of sparse trees, and this is just the very initial update on this tree. That it went, you know, if I'm not mistaken, it had nothing. So there's update number 1 on this Bunjin Carissa. I think it's going to be an enjoyable tree. So thank you so much for watching. If you like this video, please give me a thumbs up, subscribe, and hit the notification bell, and you can watch the progress of this and all my trees. And I really appreciate you watching my videos, and I will see you next time.